Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 40th ever Highlight Haven interview. My name is Matthew Heiserman, and today we are joined by JMU offensive lineman Pat McMurtrie. Pat, it's great to have you on.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Really appreciate you coming on. Let's get right into it. I just want to start by asking when you first knew that you wanted to play football.
Um, so a bunch of my friends kind of started playing before me.
Mhm.
I was always like more of like a basketball guy, but um, you know, kind of hearing my friends talk about it. I think it was in like the sixth or seventh grade. That was when I originally I think started playing, and then once I started, I just kind of fell in love with it. So it was, I think, in like sixth or seventh grade.
Yeah, and when you started playing, were you always an offensive lineman, or did you play all around the field?
Well, when I first started, I was kind of I played O line, but I also played D line. But then when I got to high school, that was when I kind of like just stuck with O line full time. So yeah, pretty much from when I started, that was always kind of I was always on the O line.
Yeah, absolutely. And you obviously spent 5 seasons at Holy Cross before entering the transfer portal from
Mhm.
2019 to 2023. Was there
Yeah.
a specific moment when you knew that you wanted to go to JMU, when you knew that JMU was the best option for you?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I entered the transfer portal. It was after our fifth year because I couldn't go back just because of like academic. I was
Yeah.
done with my degree, but I still had eligibility. So I entered the transfer portal just kind of in general, just to kind of see if there were any schools interested. And then, the coach Chesney, that news kind of happened. It was probably like 2 weeks or maybe like a week when I was in the portal. So, once that kind of happened, I just was kind of just waiting to hear what he had to say. And when he told me he, you know, could get me on the team, it was just kind of a no brainer.
Yeah, so were you talking to JMU before Chesney went there, or was it all right after Chesney decided to depart Holy Cross?
Not really, because it was only it was only probably like I'd say like a week. So I heard from a few different schools and stuff like that, and I was like talking to other schools just at the time, and then
Yeah.
like it was really once Coach Chesney got there, I was like, all right, like let's see what we could do. And then, like I said, when he told me that I could come play, it was a no brainer.
Yeah, I mean, and not just did Coach Chesney go to JMU, but also multiple teammates that you had at Holy Cross transferred to JMU, such as
Yep.
Tyler Purdy, Terrence Spence, Jacob Dobbs. How would you describe the relationship you've been able to build with those guys over the years?
Yeah, I mean they're all like my best friends. I mean I lived with Tyler and Jacob at
Mhm. Yeah.
still when we were at Holy Cross, and I mean those two guys are two of my like best friends. And Terrence, I don't know if many people knew this, but I actually also played with Terrence in high school, which not many
Oh,
people knew. So me and him went to the same high school, and then we both went to Holy Cross together. I mean, he was a year after me, but both played at Holy Cross together, and then he came down here. So Terrence is a guy I've played with him for a long time. So I love all three of those guys, and we've just kind of been through a lot together. But they're all great people.
yeah, and I'm assuming you and Terrence both playing at Holy Cross was something that you guys somewhat coordinated between each other.
Yeah, yeah. So when I
Yeah.
got to Holy Cross, I like the coaches will ask like who hey, like, are there any guys from your high school who you think would fit our program really well? And Terrence, obviously, I played with him, so I knew like, all right, like this kid's a really good player. And um, I told Coach Chesney at the time, and it was kind of crazy. Like when I actually saw that he was going, that was a pretty cool feeling. So I definitely like was very happy when he decided to go to Holy Cross.
Yeah, and obviously with Holy Cross being an FCS school, what would you say was the biggest challenge for you transitioning from the FCS to the FBS?
Um, I mean, I think one of the biggest things I noticed was just, I think more for me, I mean, at every position it's different, but I think just the D linemen, in
Mhm.
terms of just their size, like, I mean, there were some bigger kids at the FCS level too, but I just think like when I got here and just saw like how big some of the D linemen were, and not just how big, but how quick they can move. That was like probably like the biggest thing that I noticed, when I first got here.
Yeah, and on December 18th, JMU beat Western Kentucky in the Boca Raton Bowl, winning their first bowl game in program history. What did that win mean to both you individually and the team as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, as a team, it was really cool because that was our first win in the history of JMU. So that was pretty cool to be a part of that. And then like for personally, like I never, I mean, when we were in the FCS at Holy Cross, it was we were in the playoffs, so obviously that was like a lot different. And this was like my first like real like bowl game experience, and it was pretty cool getting to go down to Boca Raton, and that was kind of a nice place to go in the middle of December to get in some warm weather. But I mean, personally, it was also just a great feeling, and not just the actual game, but just kind of getting to spend time down there with a bunch of guys on the team outside of football. That was something that I'll always remember. So it was a very cool experience.
Yeah, and obviously Alonzo Barnett suffered an injury
Mhm.
earlier in the season, so Billy Atkins was the starter in that game. Were there any nerves, without the quarterback who you had been blocking for all season long? Now it's a new guy. Were you kind of nervous going into it, not sure really what to expect with Atkins at the helm?
No, not at all. I mean, obviously, it was, it really sucked with Alonzo, and
Mhm.
it was just something that was just I just felt so bad for him. But there was really no nerves because I saw, you know, it's kind of you see it behind the scenes, but I see, throughout the whole season how hard Billy worked, and
Mhm. Yeah.
every single day he, showed up and did the right things, and even just in practice he was always taking reps, and so there were like I had no concern at all. I knew like I just kind of was excited that he finally got that opportunity, and obviously I mean he played unbelievable, so it was awesome to see.
Yeah, and recently you were announced to the All Sun Belt first team offense along with your teammate Cole Potts. What does that accolade mean to you?
It was very cool. I that was definitely like a really cool moment for me. Especially being a guy that came from the FCS, and it's my first season at like a higher level, and obviously on a new team too. So before the season, you never really know how things are going to play out, and I just spent a lot of time thinking about it, but it was like that was definitely like a really, really cool moment for me for sure.
Yeah, in this past season, you were the Sun Belt's top-rated tackle, not allowing a single sack all year. What's one thing that you take pride in when it comes to your play style, when it comes to your game?
Yeah, well, I mean, that certainly is was something I was really happy
Mhm.
with.
Yeah.
Anytime you can not get the quarterback hit, that's usually that's usually a good you're doing your job. But I that was definitely a really cool when I saw that, that was like something I was really happy
Mhm.
with. But I think just more than anything, and I think it's just about playing hard, and I just want to be someone that my teammates can rely on in terms of
Mhm.
how hard I play, and just knowing what I'm doing and making sure I'm always going to the right guys and stuff. So, I mean, I would say that's probably like one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah, I love to hear that, and on January 9th, you officially announced that you will be returning for one final
Mhm.
season with the Dukes. Can you
Yep.
just break down, what went into that decision?
Yeah. So it was kind of a crazy process
Mhm.
because I had some. It was kind of not like a weird college experience, but it really was pretty crazy because of COVID, and then
Yeah,
I had
obviously.
a medical red shirt from
Mhm.
2022. So I missed like most of that season, and I got that year back. So before like this past year at JMU, it was something that was kind of brought up before the season started, but I really just kind of like take it day by day because when you go through a really serious injury like that, I think like the biggest thing I learned is just not to take your health for granted because I lost my season like that and it was over. So um, I knew about it, but it was something that I was just like, I'm not going to talk with the coaches until late in the season because I just want to see how I feel and see how things go. And it was pretty much after we played Marshall. We had a few weeks before we left for Florida. So, during that time, I, talked with Coach Chesney a ton, and I talked with Coach Smith, and then obviously just talked to my family. And I've just been lucky. I've gotten to play with the same head coach for I guess 7 years, which is something that not many people can say. But I mean, once I kind of just weighed my options and stuff, I think it was just the best option for me. And I love I really do love the guys on the team, and so that obviously also played a big part in it. So it was kind of it started during the season, and then once we were kind of getting ready for the bowl game, that's when I kind of ultimately made the decision. But I didn't really want to announce it until like the bowl game was done because I obviously just wanted to kind of wait and clarify everything.
Yeah, I mean, just wanna see what happens in the bowl game, obviously,
Exactly.
see if that affects anything, and,
Yep.
throughout your career, you've gotten the opportunity to go up against teams such as North Carolina,
Mhm.
Georgia Southern, and Marshall. How does this tougher competition help you improve your game?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps a lot because I don't really think there's ever a day or really a game, when you can kind of like take off because
Yeah.
there's talented players on all those teams. And that was something this year that like I just noticed playing pretty much every team in the Sun Belt was all these teams have really good defenses and really good D linemen. And I think it just kind of forces you to be at your best at all times because if you're not, you're it might not go well for you. So you always have to kind of be locked in. And I would say that was kind of like one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah, and I mean, during your college career, you've played against some really good teams, really important games. Is there something you specifically do to handle the pressure in these situations, or is there really any pressure? Obviously, you've been in college for a while. Are there still nerves ahead of these games?
Oh, there's always nerves.
Mhm,
Yeah, yeah, you could ask any of my buddies, and
mhm,
I don't really say a lot before games. Like it's been like that from the moment I got to college. But yeah, I still get nerves. I think the biggest thing though is I've kind of learned that like that's not like a bad thing. I used to kind of just think, well, like what's wrong with me? Like why do I feel this way?
mhm.
But I just think that's kind of something that's just like a natural feeling. Um, when you're just constantly, in those big game situations. So, it was, like I said, I definitely get the nerves still, but, just getting the opportunity to play in, some big games, I think that's just definitely helped me as a player.
Yeah, and I was talking with Jacob Dobbs earlier, and I think he was the one who said this. He said, "If you're not nervous, you don't care," and I think that's a
Mhm.
great way of putting it. No
Yeah.
matter what level you're at, you're obviously going to be
Mhm.
nervous ahead of your games.
Mhm.
Is there a specific NFL player that you try and model your game after or take inspiration from?
Um, yeah, I mean, not a lot of people love watching the O line, but
Mhm.
I think that's something that I kind of I just do when I'm watching sometimes. I mean, I love watching. I mean, there's a bunch of good tackles, but I love like Trent Williams. I think
Yeah.
I mean, he's just one of the best of all time, and I love watching like Lane Johnson on the Eagles is another guy that I really like watching. I just think it's just kind of crazy how consistently good they are. There's never really a drop off. So I think like those, two guys are like two that I kind of, enjoy watching.
And I mean, when you watch NFL games, are you pretty much focused on the O line the entire game? Is that what you're always watching?
Uh, Usually, yeah, usually obviously, like, I'll watch the game, but I think a lot of times, especially if there's matchups, that's something that like, I'll love to watch. Like it, and even in the Super Bowl, if you get a good O line D line matchup, whether it's individually or just kind of as a whole unit, like I really enjoy kind of like watching, those like kind of different battles across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you've worn the jersey number 76 throughout your entire college career. Is there a specific meaning behind that number, or did you kind of just choose a number and decide to stick with it?
Just it just kind of stuck with it.
Mhm.
So I was 64 when I was in high school, and then when I got to college, that was kind of the number that I got, and someone else was 64. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, like I'll take this my freshman year, and then I just kind of was like, you know what, like let's just kind of rock with this. It's a new number, I like it. So I kind of just got it my freshman year, and then I just have kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, and you currently major in cyber intelligence. How are you able to balance your work life while also giving 100% on the field? Just get that balance to the point where you're not too stressed ahead of games. Obviously, you have things under control.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things, that you learn as a college athlete is time management. So,
Mhm.
I definitely got that at Holy Cross, just with the obviously it's a really really good school there, and so I was always kind of had to make sure I managed both, and
Mhm.
that kind of carried over when I came here. So like that's the biggest thing is everyone's got work to do, and then you obviously have to focus on your football, but if you could kind of manage both, I think that's it's going to help you in the long run.
And now, throughout your college career, has there been a game so far that you would consider to be your favorite or most memorable performance?
um Yeah, so I mean, ooh, it's kind of tough. I mean, there's
Or even
definitely,
or even a specific play that you really pride yourself in?
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think so. I think from a game perspective, you know, unfortunately we lost the game, but in
Mhm.
2023, when this was my fifth year at Holy Cross,
Mhm.
we played Boston College, and that was, back like, back in the day, that was a really, really big like in-state rival, and
Mhm.
you know, that was a game that I'll kind of remember forever because, I mean, we were very close to winning that one. That one always kind of hurt. We lost on the final drive, but I mean, just kind of to see, the amount of fans that were at that game that were Holy Cross fans, like that was something that I'll always remember. I mean, and then I think this year there were like the Coastal Carolina game. That was a
Mhm.
Thursday night game, and that like I mean, Bridgeforth is pretty electric every week, but that Thursday night game was insane. I'll never forget that one and running out of the tunnel. Um, and then the Marshall game, personally, like I was, that was a game that that I'll remember just because I mean they had a really really good D line, and
Mhm.
um, uh, one of their players, I mean he's on like draft boards right now, Mike Green. I mean he was led the country in sacks, and I mean he was just a freak athlete and just a great player. So I think that was one of my better games the entire year. So it sucked. It really sucked because we lost. So that was kind of weird. But I think personally that was a game that I was remember just because of how I played.
Yeah, and during National Signing Day, JMU brought in some offensive linemen, including Parker Cunningham, Trent Wilson, and JD Rayner. Have you had the opportunity to work with any of these guys yet and help them improve their game?
So far the only one is Trent. He
Mhm.
got
Yeah.
here in January
Mm.
when school started. The rest don't get here, I think, until like the summertime.
Mm.
But I mean, so far with Trent, like I really really like just I like everything about him. He works really hard, and just kind of seeing him in workouts. He's oh, like I said, works hard, and then I think just kind of when we have meetings, he's asking questions, and I think he has a bright future. So I'm excited to kind of just see him progress.
I do have one final question to ask
Yeah.
before we wrap things up. What
Mhm.
are some both personal and team goals that you have for this upcoming season with JMU?
Yeah, I mean, from a team perspective, I think definitely, you want to win the Sun Belt because, looking back at last year, I think, we the most of the league games we lost, we were winning,
Mhm.
early in the game and kind of
Yeah.
through like halftime, and that was kind of just our biggest problem was we just couldn't sustain leads. So, I think with the talent we have coming back, I think winning the Sun Belt and getting the opportunity to go to the college football playoff, I mean, that would be a pretty unbelievable opportunity. And then personally, I think, if I could, be all Sun Belt again, that would obviously be, a really cool honor for me. And, obviously, if I play really well, hopefully there, might be other awards out there. But for me, I care more about the team success. So that's really, those goals are the ones that I care about most. So I am, excited about kind of, what lies ahead for us.
Yeah, obviously looking forward to seeing how this next season goes for you guys.
Mhm.
And with that being said, can't thank you enough for coming on. Really do
Yeah, of
appreciate
course.
it. Is there anything else you want to say to the people watching before we wrap things up?
No, no, I just thank you to you for having me on again. This was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, really appreciate you coming on. Big thanks to Pat McMurtrie for being the 40th ever Highlight Haven interview guest. And as always, we will see you next time.